Hello and welcome to another Steps of Sussex channel episode, and we are commencing today with my review, or rather the start of, I don't know, commencing or start of my review of Finding Freedom by Omid Scobie and Carolyn Durran. So yesterday I received the book in the post and I did a little bit of an introduction about how I thought I was going to tackle this review. Most of you said you'd prefer me to do it kind of chapter by chapter, so what I've decided to do is that maybe do a few chapters, read 2 or 3 chapters, and then make a video on what I think about are the most important things to discuss from those chapters that I've read. So, yesterday was the introduction, today we are commencing with the actual read. So, what have I read today from Finding Freedom? So, I've got notes, of course I've got notes in my book, and I've been making them as I've been going along. By the way, I want to know how you like to read. How do you read? Are you a sit down in a comfy chair kind of reader? Are you like me? Do you prefer to lie on the bed and kind of relax when you're reading? Do you like to read, on the odd moments when you're on the train or the bus or whatever it might be? Let me know how you like to read. I like to lie down. I'm a bit of a lying down sort of reader, and it's so hot. We are going through, for us, a heat wave here in the UK. It's so humid, it's so hot, so I've been lying on the bed with a fan on me, and I've just been reading. So I've read now up to chapter 3. Let me know where you are in the book. I'm sure many of you are way ahead of me in terms of reading. Yeah, Sheila says, ready for my first impressions. Sheila likes also to sit down in a recliner with a real book under a blanket, or too hot for a blanket today. So anyway, what I have read today is the prologue. I've read the introduction, and I've read chapter 1 and chapter 2. So when I commence, I will be on chapter 3. So, like I said, I've made a few notes which I'm going to refer to throughout this particular video. Alicia says, I just read anywhere to be honest, if the story is good. I just get lost in a book. I prefer chair or bed. Anyway, so the prologue begins with what is, I think, preliminarily from Omid Scobie's point of view. It does also reference Carolyn as well, but you can tell when you're reading it, well, I got the impression from this anyway, that it's very much, the prologue is very much written by Omid on behalf of Omid and Carolyn. Oh, by the way, I should say, in the front of the book there is an inspirational quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, which says, do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail, which I think kind of sets the tone for the book. So, like I said, the prologue kind of describes the engagement walk. As you know, they walked in the garden at Kensington Palace, and apparently shortly before stepping through the side gate, walking down to face the army of photographers, Meghan whispered to Harry, who was actually very nervous at that point. She said, you got this, and never sort of shying away from public affection, although there wasn't many people watching before they stepped through the gate. Is the camera right? Apparently she rubbed him in the small of the back and said, you got this, you got this. So Harry, feeling a little bit nervous about doing the engagement announcement. Also, Omid sort of described his own experiences of only just making it to that press coverage in time. I think he'd had a weekend in Oxfordshire. The mind only boggles as to what he was getting up to in Oxfordshire. But anyway, he'd come back a little bit late, and he had to rush there to cover that. And it goes through how Omid and Carolyn both feel that it's a privilege to cover royal events and have access to different, weddings and christenings and engagements and all that kind of thing. He also told a story about an experience with Harry where Omid was on a foreign tour and he lost his passport, or rather he dropped his passport. Harry apparently found the passport and then sent the Royal Protection Officers back to Omid to give him his passport so that Omid could board the flight onto where they were heading to. So when Harry met Omid on the other end after the flight, apparently Harry referred to Omid as Passport. So he just said to him passport, which is in the book described as taking the Michael, which means having a little bit of fun with Omid for losing his passport. Anyway, so perhaps that is Harry's name for Omid now. I don't know. Maybe he just calls him passport. But I just thought that was a cute little story. Also, I've written down that the prologue sets the scene for the differences between Harry and William later on in the book that we know are going to come. We know those differences are going to be spoken about and talked about. So, for example, Omid describes William as being very much like the Queen, and Harry being more like Diana's kind of nature. Also, in the I can't remember whether it was the intro or chapter 1. Omid, I'm going to be jumping between different chapters just as I remember things that I've read. Omid did describe one of the things that Diana had said to Harry, which was, it's okay to be naughty, just don't get caught. So yeah, definitely setting out the differences between the two different destinies and different paths. If you remember the key phrase, divergent paths, that Harry and William are on divergent paths. And this introduction, the prologue rather, very, very much sets the scene for that. He also recalls the final time that Harry and Meghan were in a room at Kensington Palace, I think it was, before they stepped down. No, I think it was Buckingham Palace, before they stepped down as being senior royals, where once it was all over, Meghan went to Omid and she whispered or said to him in his ear, it didn't have to be this way. Presumably, from that we can, although not confirmed, we can kind of almost see the trust, I think, that Meghan perhaps was putting in Omid in particular, because, why would you go up to someone and say it didn't have to be this way? Meaning that perhaps they had had further conversations around the reasons for the Sussexes stepping back from royal duties. So maybe Omid had been a confidant in earlier conversations. One will not know until we read further into the book. I'm just going to read what people are saying. Lauren says it's been reported that Harry and Meghan have purchased their first home together. Yes, I've heard the stories, but obviously I haven't had, heard any confirmation on that. But yeah, I've heard that as well in Santa Barbara, about an hour away from LA, so it would be kind of convenient for Harry and Meghan to do the work and business in LA and then have a bit more of a secluded, semi-private life. I know lots of stars like Oprah have homes in Santa Barbara, and somebody commented, although I'm not particularly au fait with what's been happening in LA in terms of lockdown, but apparently if it was purchased sometime in March, someone said that would fit in with when certain restrictions, or shortly just before certain restrictions were put in place or lifted, that kind of thing. So yes, not entirely sure exactly, if those stories are true. Anyway, let's just move on a little bit into the introduction part. So, what was surprising about the introduction was that it revealed that Prince Harry reads the Daily Mail. Now, for anybody, it's dangerous. It's dangerous to read the Daily Mail. Whether you are the subject of a Daily Mail article or just for anybody, I have to read it because of, there being so many royal stories in it, and I myself, even though those stories are not about me, have felt the anguish with the amount of vitriol that has been put against not just Harry and Meghan, but other people as well. There is so much, hate going on that website and in that news publication. So it's very, very difficult to read a story about yourself. And Harry, I think, made the fatal mistake of reading the Daily Mail articles about himself. Apparently, according to Omid, he read an article, and I actually forgot to find the article before coming on, but there was an article, one that he read in particular, which was entitled, "Doesn't the Queen Deserve Better?" Now, I'm going to refer to page 8 of this one because I've got to refer to page 8 because there are some quotes. So, I think he must have been sent a link as well to the story because Omid said that Harry regretted opening up the link. Anyway, he couldn't... right. Okay, so he read the article and then he made the extra mistake of reading the comments. Never read Daily Mail comments. Never read them because it is really just full of trolls. And you cannot go by the Daily Mail comments because not only are they from the UK, but they are also from all over the world as well. Anyone can type in anything of their location. So if Harry was thinking that the majority of people thought the same way as what people have been writing in the comments, no wonder he was getting that kind of a view. Anyway, some of the comments quoted in the book from that article were that Harry and Meghan disgust me. So Harry read one of the comments, Harry and Meghan disgust me. He read, they are a disgrace to the royal family. Another comment, the world would be a better place without Harry and Meghan in it. I mean, that is a particularly disgusting and horrible comment. The world would be a better place without Harry and Meghan in it. And there was Harry, sat down there, reading it about himself. And apparently, the last comment had 3,500 upvotes. It said Harry instantly regretted opening up the link. His stomach tied into the same knot every time he saw these sorts of comments. So, it wasn't just a one-off occasion. Every time he sees these sorts of comments, he's looked at these sorts of comments multiple times. It's a sick part of the society we live in today, and no one is doing anything about it, he continued. Where's the positivity? Why is everyone so miserable and angry? And we can see that later on, with the Sussex Royal Instagram account, they switched to following for the final 2 months, I think it was, of the Sussex Royal. They followed positive news outlets. So I think a lot of that was coming from Harry. You know, a lot of people at the time were calling Harry and Meghan's decision to leave Megxit, which, you know, the tabloids were calling it Megxit. People on the internet were calling it Megxit, which was, as I said at the time, very unfair because that implies that Harry and Meghan's decision to step down was all from Meghan, when in fact, I don't think it was. I didn't think it was at the time, and I think, you know, the evidence so far, if it's to be believed, is kind of pointing very, very much towards it being Harry's decision. It was Harry who was reading this stuff about himself and about Meghan. I think Meghan describes it very, very much as being noise. So I'm not entirely sure whether Meghan is the one that's been looking up all this stuff that's been written. But I think, you know, if you go by what's written here, it might be Harry that's been the one who's been reading negative articles and negative comments about himself. Right, let me just read up some comments. I'm just trying to see if there's one that... Dahlia Ford says, that's true about the Daily Mail. He mentions if his name is mentioned, he wants to see what they are writing about him. And that's very, very dangerous. You know, sometimes I make the mistake myself of, you know, typing my name into Twitter and seeing what comes up. And, you know, it's not good. It's not good to do that. If you are, you know, in the media, or if you are a celebrity, a personality, a well-known person, a member of the royal family, in a way, you think that you're getting an impression of what people feel about you, but you're not. You're getting a snapshot. You're getting a snapshot of trolls, keyboard warriors who are going to these, who are attracted to these sorts of publications and want to cause trouble. You know, 3,500 people upvoting a comment is not the representative voice of a population of over 60 million. Let's put it that way. So I think that was pretty much a crucial mistake. Do not read things about yourself. It's not good. Anyway, let's move on to after the page 8 comments. Yeah, it mentions, I've written down internal affairs leaking to the press. So again, it sets the scene for Harry and Meghan's discomfort in the fact that almost on a daily basis that their internal affairs were being leaked to the press. I haven't got to the bit where it lays any accusations as to who is leaking things to the press. I'm sure that will come. I'm trying to keep things very much up to where I am in the book at the moment. But it does set the scene for, again, another reason for Harry and Meghan wanting to step back, is that the internal affairs were leaking to the press on an almost daily basis. And that there were very few palace staff that they felt that they could trust. So again, it points the finger of factions within the palace, and the fact that they didn't really have many people that they could trust. It describes their if you cast your mind back to a time when it was said they were going to go to Canada, they were going to have an extended summer break before Christmas. Apparently, Canada was an angst-ridden time, and I quote, angst-ridden time, and that hours were spent mapping out potential routes for their future. It describes the oak-panelled drawing room, although Harry and Meghan preferred to have their MacBooks open at the kitchen table, where they would spend hours mapping out what their future would be. So, rather than taking a break, pretty much I think by that point they had decided that they wanted out. They were already mapping out potential routes. And it was probably during this period that they were setting up that website that they, launched eventually, stating their intention to step back as senior royals. So yeah, described as angst-ridden is what the book is saying. Also, they addressed the issue of Harry snubbing the Queen, not going for Christmas. It pointed out that the Cambridges, and rightly so, the Cambridges on occasion had not gone to Sandringham for Christmas. And it also stressed that Harry had okayed the fact that they wouldn't be spending time at Sandringham for Christmas with the Queen in advance. So that point was very, very much stressed in the book to kind of set that story straight. Also, I would like to say that many of the stories that we know from the tabloids, I think, are pretty much addressed in this book, one way or the other. Obviously, it said that Doria came over to stay in Canada as well, and that Meghan... Now, this is the bit that kind of makes you think, how much access has Omid and Carolyn actually had? Because they even go into text messages. So apparently this is a text message that Meghan sent to Mother Doria about Archie. So apparently Doria was really excited about seeing Archie. She hadn't seen him for a long time. They swapped pictures and texts. And one of the texts which Meghan sent to Doria reportedly was that Archie was in the top 90th percentile for height. I mean, again, I'm not quite sure why the authors picked out that particular text. I don't know. And where are they getting the text messages from? So if they're saying that it was a text message between Doria and Meghan, and they're claiming it was about being in the top 90th percentile for height, where has that text message come from? Was it Doria? Was it Meghan herself? I mean, no other people that they've worked with, close friends, are going to know about the text. I mean, unless Meghan specifically would have said to one of their friends, I sent my mother a text and it was about Archie being in the top 90th percentile for height. I mean, it's a pretty weird one. So it does bring into question, how much access has Omid and Carolyn had? Who are these sources? Where are they coming from? I mean, I'm going to go straight down to the bottom of the comments to see what people think about that one. I mean, literally, I'm just reading what's in the book. Maddie says, I think it has more to do with Doria's friend and close to them. Could they talk to them? Potentially, yeah, potentially. Potentially Doria maybe showed her friends some of the text. I mean, I don't know. How many people has Omid and Caroline spoke to? He suggested over 100. So potentially, potentially the net has been cast very, very wide, shall we say. Bev says, the atmosphere at the palace seems stifling. I feel tightness in my chest when I watch those scenes in The Crown. The royal family needs to clean its house. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to move on. Move on to the next bit. Also, it kind of ended the intro on the fact that Harry and Meghan felt that the royal family didn't support them within the institution of monarchy. Right, I'm going to move on now to chapter 1. So I've only made brief notes about the chapters because in these chapters it kind of sets the scene. The first 2 chapters very, very much follow Meghan's arrival in London. Talks about her being in a shoe shop buying shoes. I don't really need to elaborate too much on that one. It focuses a little bit, touches on Meghan's history, the fact that she wrote that letter which got the commercial changed. It touches on her education, the fact that Doria and her father Thomas, although married only for a short space of time, co-parented well, it says, and that they wanted the best for Meghan in terms of education, that Thomas supported her with her plays and things, obviously with being a lighting director, that Doria, it focused on Doria's desire that Meghan should always have a backup, should always do well with her education, because Doria didn't complete her university education, and Doria felt that it was, that it had held her back in her life. So Doria didn't want that for Meghan. So pretty much things that we already know. We know about Meghan's schooling, so it touches, where she went, Immaculate Heart, all the rest of it. It also very, very much stresses Meghan's work ethic. It says that, even, with her contemporaries in acting or whether it be at school, whilst other people were having downtime, Meghan would be busy with the next thing, or she'd be working, babysitting, or whatever it might be. So chapter 1 focuses very, very much Meghan's arrival in London, then it backtracks to Meghan's history, education, and work ethic is what I've got written down. Chapter 2, a little bit more interesting in terms of things that we may not have known. So it kind of says about different PR agencies and talent agencies that Meghan registered with to try and, further her career, post obviously from being in Suits. Talks very, very much about the TIG, her website, and, how it was named, and what Meghan's hopes and aspirations were for the TIG, and the fact that it gave Meghan very much a voice and a launching pad, a breeding ground for ideas that she wanted to develop further, which is why she enlisted lots of those talent agencies and PR firms. It also spoke about another vlog, which actually I'd never heard of. It was The Working Actress, which apparently Meghan has never actually said that she was behind, but it's like one of those, worst kept Hollywood secrets. Anyway, so it described the Working Actress, described it's like a blog describing the life of an actress in Hollywood, the highs, the lows, all that kind of thing. It also spoke about Meghan's meeting with Piers Morgan. Apparently, obviously, she had messaged him wanting to meet. They'd met up. And then it goes on to who set up the date between Harry and Meghan. In fact, it was Misha, Nonu, and Marcus Anderson who set up their date in Soho House Club. I'm just seeing if there's any comments about that one. People still saying how they like to read. Anyway, so carrying on with chapter 2, it details elements of their first date. Meghan wore a navy blue dress. Harry was wearing his signature white shirt and chinos. They sat in a private booth with velvet curtains, and apparently the wallpaper had female genitalia on it. I mean, I have no idea. I haven't been to this Soho House Club. But yeah, apparently the wallpaper has female genitalia. But Harry and Meghan were so engrossed in each other that they didn't even notice. I mean, again, how would you know? I mean, unless Harry or Meghan had told a close friend this. Anyway, I digress. So apparently they spoke for ages. They didn't notice anything else around them. One of the first things they connected on was, of course, their charity work. And, you know, they both discussed their charity works and were really impressed by each other's charity works. The date lasted for 3 hours, and they did not end it by going back to each other's, you know, houses or whatever, and where they were staying and doing that kind of thing. It was very, very sweet. It was very, very nice, and they left on the feeling of that there could potentially be something there. Apparently, also Harry was very nervous before the date. They'd both Googled each other. You know, she'd Googled his background, and she'd found out about all the different things that he'd done in his life, including some of the faux pas that were made. He'd Googled her, thought that she was very beautiful. As soon as he met her, he knew that she was very intelligent and that he would really have to work at this one. Usually girlfriends had been impressed by his royal status. He knew things were going to be a little bit different with Meghan, so he thought he had to up his game. And I think he did. Also, it details Harry's penchant for using emojis in text messages, which again was very interesting because apparently he doesn't like to use the smiley face emoji. Instead of using smiley face emojis, he uses the ghost emoji. So there we go. So apparently Meghan thought that was really cute and sweet. And that's where I've got to so far. So that is me up to chapter 3. Christine says, Carolyn did one interview for the Today Show on Monday. I need to check that out because I haven't seen that. Alicia says, the thing that cracks me up was Harry's private Instagram, if only we knew. Well, I knew about the Facebook. I knew he had a Facebook from a while ago. And I also think I found Harry's private account on SoundCloud as well. But there we go. I'm keeping that one secret. Joanne Baker says, not too many people are aware of Carolyn Durran, but many people are aware of Omid Scobie. So Omid is the face of the book. It seems like in the UK, it's been promoted very, very much as Omid's book. Almost like Carolyn is a bit of an afterthought. I mean, I don't know whether or not they've been kind of doing zones, you know, where one of them's taken on different areas. But in the UK, in the TV interviews and all that kind of thing, all I've pretty much seen is Omid, to be quite honest. Christine says, yes, US television network. So yeah, maybe, you know, Omid's taken the just notice my hair sticking up. And I think Omid may have taken the British media, and Carolyn may be tackling international. I don't know. Alicia says, you knew Harry's private Facebook, and does Harry still have SoundCloud? The Facebook was made public. People were aware of the nickname he'd used, so he closed that one down. But I did find what I believe to be Harry's SoundCloud years ago, and I've never revealed it to anybody. But I do believe that it is Harry's SoundCloud, yes. But I'm never going to reveal that one. Anyway, Kada says, I was saying no interviews with Carolyn, only Omid in the UK. All I've seen, I mean, I live in the UK. I have access to UK daytime TV, and the only interviews I've seen is with Omid. But I'm not saying Carolyn hasn't. They could have been zoning out the promotion to different areas. Right, I'm just trying to see if there was... Alicia says, Piers Morgan is salty. He thought Meghan wanted him clearly. I think there was it almost detailed the message that she sent him. If I can flick through, just see if I can kind of see. It's in there somewhere. It kind of mentions the text message. It was something like, you know, hey, do you want to meet up? That kind of thing, that kind of vibe. And of course, Piers did. And apparently they chatted about all kinds of different things. They chatted about loads and loads and loads of tons of different things. Right. And that's it for my review of up to chapter 3. Like I said, I mean, I haven't found anything particularly explosive up to the point of chapter 3. I mean, again, one of the things that is leaping out is the access to very private and personal details that a journalist would just not know. So, in terms of, people have been discussing, maybe Omid and Caroline have just made things up. I think, it's very, very true what they say about speaking to people close to the couple. The only way you could get details, very personal details, like that, like text messages, what was said, all that kind of thing, how they, what went on in a private booth on their first date when it was surrounded by velvet curtains and all that kind of thing, is very, very much details that you would only get either from Harry and Meghan themselves, and of course Harry and Meghan have denied any involvement. Omid Scobie and Caroline have been very careful to say that they have not interviewed Harry and Meghan. So the only other place it could have come from is genuinely friends. And would genuine friends be happy sharing that level of personal, private information unless it had been given the all clear by Harry and Meghan to do so themselves? So I think most people are coming to the conclusion very, very early on that even though Harry and Meghan have not had any direct involvement, have not had any direct interviews with Omid and Caroline, that they may at least have given their blessing for friends to divulge very personal information which they would have told their friends over the course of the past 3 years. So I think everyone's going to have their own opinions on that one, but I think that's where it's heading at the moment. And of course I will update my feelings and thoughts the more I read of this book. Okay, Janice says, awesome chat today. Thank you for your thoughts. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. And on that note, I'm going to conclude today's video. I will be back tomorrow with my feelings on, let me see what chapters are coming up. So chapter 3 is Courtship in the Wild. And chapter 4 is The World Gets Wind. So obviously, that gets me up to the point where I first found out about Meghan. So, stay tuned, make sure you are subscribed, come back tomorrow, give obviously a thumbs up if you've enjoyed my assessment of up to chapters 3. So thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed it, please give a big thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media, leave a comment, subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow. So from me in Shropshire, mwah, to you all, and goodbye.